They say preparation is everything in the playoffs. But what happens when preparation becomes an illusion? What if all this talk about scouting the Magic and Hawks is just window dressing for a deeper problem? One the Celtics might not even see coming? Boston just wrapped up a 61-win season. On the surface, that sounds like a juggernaut rolling into the playoffs. But numbers can lie. And right now, no stat can hide the unsettling truth. This team might be underestimating what's coming. Head coach Joe Mazzulla has split his assistants into two camps. One studying the Orlando Magic, the other focused on the Atlanta Hawks. A tactical move, sure, but also oddly robotic, clinical, almost hollow. Is that really all it takes to navigate the chaos of playoff basketball? A divided coaching staff and a week of prep. The Celtics are operating like a machine that's been here before. But what they seem to forget is that this year's path is nothing like last year's, and pretending otherwise is the fastest way to walk straight into disaster. Let's talk about the real issue no one in Boston seems to want to touch. The Celtics are about to face a young, hungry, emotionally volatile opponent with absolutely nothing to lose. That's the most dangerous kind. The Magic are unpredictable, long, and defensively relentless. The Hawks are flawed, yes, but they have an irrational confidence and a scorer in Trae Young who lives for chaos. Neither team plays by Boston's rulebook. Neither is going to bow to the Celtics' system. And here's the kicker. Boston knows this, but they're choosing to play it cool instead of honest. Mazzulla's calm demeanor and strategic compartmentalization is admirable on paper, but this isn't a chess tournament. It's the NBA playoffs. Strategy is one thing, but adaptability, emotion, and instinct decide games in the postseason. Is Mazzulla ready to coach under that pressure? Because being ready for two teams isn't the same as being ready for the moment. Last year, Boston's path through the East looked easy only in hindsight. They faced a battered Heat team in the finals. This year, they're walking into a much deeper, more unpredictable conference. And they're doing it while everyone assumes they'll cruise back to June. That assumption is exactly the kind of complacency that kills dynasties before they even start. And let's not forget, this team has blown winnable playoff series before. Remember 2022? The finals collapse after being up 2-1. Or the near disaster against the Sixers in 2023, when it took a Tatum miracle in Game 6 just to survive. This franchise has a history of playing with fire when the stakes are highest. But somehow, they're acting like that history doesn't exist. What if Mazzulla's staff is over-preparing for the wrong matchup? What if they're building a game plan for a Magic team that gets eliminated and wasting critical mental reps in the process? What if Trae Young explodes for 40 in Game 1 and suddenly all that scouting material is useless? The problem with waiting for your opponent is that you're the one standing still. Meanwhile, Orlando and Atlanta are fighting for survival. Battling through the play-in is more than just a technicality. It gives both teams a momentum advantage, a psychological edge. They'll arrive at TD Garden already battle-tested, while Boston will be shaking off 8 days of rest, rust, and routine. That's not just a physical disadvantage, it's a mental one. And the Celtics are not built to coast. For all the talk about this being the same starting five that won a championship, that's misleading. Yes, the names are the same, but the circumstances are not. Last year, they were underdogs with something to prove. Now they're the hunted. That changes everything. Teams won't roll over. They'll throw punches Boston hasn't seen coming. And unless Mazzulla and his staff are preparing for more than just matchups, unless they're preparing for mayhem, this cool, calculated plan could fall apart the moment reality punches back. Here's a darker question. What if the Celtics are too balanced for their own good? Everyone's saying they've got 5 weapons. Porzingis is healthy. Depth is their advantage. But playoff basketball doesn't reward balance. It rewards dominance. Who steps up when a game spirals? Is it Tatum's time to take the wheel completely? Will Brown be physically right? Is there a plan if Porzingis gets in foul trouble early? Is Jaylen Brown hiding something? The Celtics say nobody's worried, but maybe they should be. Jaylen Brown was back on the court, smiling, moving, practicing with the team just days before the playoffs. But if you think that's the full story, you haven't been paying attention. This isn't just another player returning from rest. This is a reigning Finals MVP coming off pain management injections to his right knee, and nobody seems alarmed. Not the team, not the coach, not even Brown himself. And that's exactly what makes this whole situation so unsettling. Because when everyone rushes to say, there's nothing to worry about, you should probably start worrying. Let's start with what they're not telling you. Brown sat out the final 3 games of the regular season. Officially, it was precautionary. Unofficially, it sent alarm bells across the league. This is not a minor tweak or a sore joint. Injections mean inflammation. Injections mean pain that couldn't be managed with standard therapy. And injections, especially this close to the playoffs, scream one thing: urgency. So why are the Celtics being so casual? He looked great today, said Al Horford. Jaylen is very strong mentally. I'm just excited to see him go from this point forward. Sounds supportive. But listen closely. Horford isn't saying Brown is healthy. He's saying he's tough. He's saying he can find a way. That's code for we need him, and he's going to push through whatever he's dealing with. And that's the problem. Brown's knee isn't just a footnote. It's a potential landmine. This is a player who missed 19 games this season, his highest total in 4 years. And yet he took the floor against the Knicks last week for no competitive reason. The Celtics had already locked in the 2nd seed. There was nothing to prove, so why risk it? Why send him out there unless someone was trying to test that knee before the storm hits? And that test didn't exactly inspire confidence. Brown looked stiff, restrained, like a player protecting something, like someone playing a mental game with himself. Can I trust this leg? That hesitation doesn't vanish just because the lights are brighter in the playoffs. But here's where it gets even murkier. Coach Joe Mazzulla gave the blandest response imaginable, just taking it one day at a time. Translation: we don't know how this knee will hold up, so we're not saying anything until we absolutely have to. That kind of non-answer should concern anyone who cares about Boston's title hopes, because Jaylen Brown is more than just a scorer. He's their emotional edge, their burst in transition, their on-ball defender against oversized wings. If he's even 5% slower, that ripple hits every corner of the Celtics system. Let's also be brutally honest. Brown's numbers this season weren't quite elite. He shot 32% from deep. He wasn't the same volume threat from outside, and his efficiency dropped during stretches where the knee issue flared up. So what version of Brown are we getting now? The locked-in playoff killer who torched the East last spring? Or a star trying to mask pain in a series that demands full-throttle intensity every night? Jrue Holiday offered a telling quote: "Everything is about not showing weakness." For him, that's powerful, but also dangerous, because hiding pain doesn't make it go away, and the playoffs don't care about bravado. They expose everything, and maybe that's what Boston's banking on. That Brown's mental toughness will override whatever's going on physically. But is that a strategy or just denial wrapped in optimism? Even more bizarre is how quickly people forgot the context. Brown had to go nuclear last postseason because Porzingis went down, and now the roles might flip. With Porzingis healthier and Brown limping into the playoffs under a cloud of uncertainty, who takes the load if he can't perform at full capacity? Derek White? Sam Hauser? Is that enough to win a title? And let's stir the pot even more. What if Brown isn't being fully transparent with the team? What if he's downplaying the issue, determined to maintain the Iron Man playoff streak he's built over 9 years? He's never missed a postseason game. That stat isn't just a line on a resume, it's part of his identity. But what happens when pride collides with pain? There's another under-discussed layer here: all NBA eligibility. Brown's 19 missed games knocked him out of contention. That's tens of millions in future contract implications. Maybe that stung. Maybe that pushed him to try and return faster. Maybe that's why he forced a late-season appearance that now looks more questionable than courageous. So no, nobody's worried might be the company line. But that doesn't mean there's nothing to worry about, because the Celtics are walking into a postseason where everything hinges on health, chemistry, and momentum. And Jaylen Brown, the heart and soul combo guard who carried them through last year's chaos, is walking a tightrope with a knee that just needed injections. Is Jrue Holiday risking it all for a ring? The truth behind his painful return raises more questions than answers. In a league where even the smallest injury can derail a season, Jrue Holiday just made a move that would terrify most players. He's ditching the cast. That's right. After over a month nursing a rare and stubborn mallet finger injury on his shooting hand, Holiday has officially removed the cast and downgraded to a slim brace. Sounds like good news? Maybe. But when you dig deeper, you start to wonder, is this a brave step forward or a dangerous gamble with playoff stakes on the line? See that? It's kinda ugly, but yeah, it's good, Holiday said while flexing his pinky with a strange mix of relief and hesitation. I get to move my finger. It feels kinda weird. I haven't moved it in like 6 weeks, that knuckle part. Weird. Ugly. That doesn't scream, I'm back at 100%. And that's where the real intrigue begins. Let's not forget, mallet finger injuries are notoriously tricky. They involve damage to the tendon, responsible for straightening the fingertip, and recovery isn't just about mobility. It's about regaining the full strength, timing, and fine control that elite shooters rely on. Holiday's pinky might not carry the same workload as the index or middle finger, but in a game where milliseconds matter and muscle memory is everything, any disruption can throw off rhythm. So why is no one talking about the risk here? Sure, Holiday has been productive, averaging over 11 points and nearly 40% from deep while playing through the injury. But that's only part of the picture. Those numbers came with a protective cast stabilizing his hand. Now, with that support gone and a looser brace in its place, he's entering the playoffs with an injury that's still healing. And here's the uncomfortable truth. That's not just about pain tolerance. It's about function, coordination, consistency, the kind of things that separate clutch from collapse in the postseason. Holiday himself admits the brace will still be part of his life as the playoffs begin. I still have to play in it. He said, hopefully the good shooting keeps happening. Hopefully? That's not confidence. That's hope disguised as adaptability. And sure, he followed it up by noting that the pinky isn't as critical as the other fingers for shooting. But that raises a question few are asking. If it wasn't so crucial, why has he been playing with a full cast this whole time? There's something else at play here. Timing. The playoffs are here. Boston is expected to dominate. And with Jaylen Brown dealing with a bone bruise and Porzingis still flirting with fragility, the Celtics need every ounce of grit and production from Holiday, but grit comes at a cost. Is he pushing too hard, too soon? Let's be honest. Jrue's been in this spot before. He was a monster in last year's title run, averaging 13.2 points and 6.1 boards, locking down superstar guards and acting as the defensive heartbeat of the team. That reputation isn't just built on stats. He's the guy who does the dirty work, the unglamorous stuff that doesn't make highlight reels but wins games. And maybe that's exactly why this injury feels like such a silent alarm, because someone like Jrue will never admit he's limited. He'll just keep playing. But here's the twist. What if his presence at 80% ends up doing more harm than good? What if his shot begins to falter? What if defenders start targeting that right hand, forcing him into awkward movements or exposing his handle? What if his legendary defense takes a hit because his hand isn't reacting with the same quickness?